Title: The 335-Year War, with zero casualties. History's strangest conflict. Description: Have you ever heard of a war that lasted for over 3 centuries but had absolutely no fighting, no battles, and zero casualties? It sounds like a joke, but it's a real and fascinating piece of history. Join us as we explore the bizarre story of the 335-year war between the Netherlands and the tiny Isles of Scilly, just off the coast of Cornwall, England. We'll dive into the chaotic backdrop of the English Civil War, discover why a powerful Dutch admiral declared war on a small group of islands, and unravel the mystery of why nobody ever fired a shot. Learn how this forgotten conflict was rediscovered in the 20th century and finally brought to a peaceful and official end in 1986. It's a tale of politics, pirates, and a whole lot of peace. Timestamps. 0 o'clock. Introduction. The longest war with no fighting. 0:45. The English Civil War, setting the stage. 2:15. Royalists versus parliamentarians. A naval showdown. 3:30. Enter the Dutch Admiral Tromp. Ese ultimatum 0:45. The declaration of war. June 165,105 to 50. The War of the Wazuna. Why no shots were fired. 7:15. A forgotten conflict. Centuries of War. 8:30. Rediscovery and the Peace Treaty of 198,609 to 40. Legacy and conclusion. Have you ever heard of a war that lasted for 335 years? A conflict spanning generations, from the age of sail to the dawn of the nuclear era. Now, what if I told you that in this entire war, not a single shot was fired? There were no battles, no invasions, and zero casualties. It sounds completely absurd, but it's a true story. This is the tale of the longest and most peaceful war in history. The 335-year war between the Netherlands and the Isles of Scilly. To understand how this bizarre situation even started, we have to travel back to the mid-17th century, a time of chaos and upheaval in England. The English Civil War was raging. It was a brutal conflict, pitting the parliamentarians, led by Oliver Cromwell, against the royalists, who were loyal to King Charles I. By 1648, it seemed like the parliamentarians had all but won. They had captured the king and controlled most of England, but the royalist cause wasn't completely dead. A significant part of the royalist navy had retreated to the Isles of Scilly, a small archipelago just 28 miles off the coast of Cornwall. These islands, controlled by the staunchly royalist Sir John Grenville, became the last major royalist stronghold. From this strategic position, the royalist fleet basically turned to piracy. They started raiding and plundering merchant ships in the English Channel, and this caused a huge problem, especially for one of England's key allies. And that ally was the Dutch Republic. The Netherlands had officially sided with the parliamentarians in the Civil War. Dutch trade was the lifeblood of their economy, and these royalist privateers based in Scilly were wreaking havoc on their merchant shipping. They were losing valuable cargo and money. The Dutch government was getting fed up. They had supported Cromwell, and now their reward was having their ships attacked by the remnants of the King's Navy. So, in 1651, the Netherlands decided to take action. They sent a powerful fleet of 12 warships, commanded by the legendary Admiral Martin Tromp, to deal with the situation. Admiral Tromp sailed to the Isles of Scilly with a clear mission: demand reparations from the royalists for the damage done to Dutch shipping. He arrived and presented his ultimatum to Sir John Grenville: pay up or face the consequences. But Grenville, with little to lose and a lot of royalist pride, essentially refused. He had no authority to pay, and no money to do it with anyway. Faced with this refusal, Admiral Tromp was in a tricky position. His orders were from the Dutch Republic, but he was dealing with a faction, the Royalists, not the official English government run by Parliament. He couldn't just declare war on England itself, as they were allies. So, he did something very specific and very unusual. On or around June 17, 1651, Admiral Tromp declared war only on the Isles of Scilly. It was a declaration of war against a tiny part of a country, not the whole nation. With the declaration made, he prepared his fleet for an attack. But then, just as things were about to escalate, the entire situation changed almost overnight. Only a few weeks after the Dutch declaration of war, the parliamentarian fleet, under the command of Admiral Robert Blake, arrived at the Isles of Scilly. Blake's mission was to crush the last Royalist naval base. Facing the might of the parliamentarian navy, the Royalists on Scilly knew they were outmatched. They surrendered to Blake without much of a fight. With the Royalists defeated and the islands back under parliamentarian control, the original reason for the Dutch being there was gone. The threat to their shipping had vanished. Admiral Tromp, seeing that his job was essentially done for him, simply sailed his fleet back home to the Netherlands. And in the whirlwind of all this political and military action, everyone just forgot about one little detail. No one ever officially declared peace. Admiral Tromp had declared war. But with the threat gone, there was no surrender, no truce, and no peace treaty signed between the Netherlands and the Isles of Scilly. Life moved on. The English Civil War ended. The monarchy was eventually restored, and centuries passed. The world saw countless other wars, revolutions, and the rise and fall of empires. All the while, on paper, a tiny cluster of English islands and the nation of the Netherlands was still technically at war. It was a war that existed only as a historical footnote, a legal curiosity that everyone had completely forgotten about. It was a state of war with no armies, no tension, and no consequences. The people of Scilly and the Netherlands went about their lives, completely unaware of their 300-year-long conflict. It wasn't until 1985 that this historical oddity was rediscovered. A man named Roy Duncan, a historian and the chairman of the Isles of Scilly Council, was researching local legends and came across the story of the Dutch declaration of war. He did some digging and realized that no peace treaty had ever been signed. He wrote to the Dutch embassy in London, half-jokingly pointing out that the islands might still be at war with their country. The embassy staff were intrigued. They checked their own records and, to their astonishment, confirmed that he was right. Technically, the state of war still existed. This quirky discovery made international headlines, a war without a single battle that had lasted for over 3 centuries. The absurdity of it all was too good to ignore. So, on April 17, 1986, almost 335 years to the day after the war began, the Dutch ambassador Jonker Reynwide Koper traveled to the Isles of Scilly to finally put an end to the conflict. In a cheerful and light-hearted ceremony, he signed a formal peace treaty, officially ending the longest war in recent history. He joked that it must have been harrowing for the people of Scilly to know we could have attacked at any moment. The whole affair was a celebration of peace, and a testament to one of the most peculiar footnotes in the annals of history. The 335-year war serves as a wonderful reminder that sometimes the most fascinating stories are the ones where nothing happens at all. It's a tale of diplomacy, forgotten paperwork, and ultimately, a war that was won by peace itself. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into a weird and wonderful corner of history, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories you might not have heard before. See you next time.